Welcome to the Prescott Lab Podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and if you are a man past 60, listen carefully. Because what I'm about to reveal may shake you. The very fruit you thought was protecting your heart and cleansing your body may actually be fueling the growth of your prostate night after night, bite after bite. And when that walnut-sized gland swells, it doesn't just weaken your stream. It robs you of your rest, your confidence, even your intimacy. It takes something so ordinary, a breakfast habit, and slowly turns it into a thief of your freedom. I've spent more than 3 decades across the table from men just like you, veterans, fathers, grandfathers, men who built lives of strength, only to whisper to me, "Doc, I feel chained to the bathroom." They thought it was just age. But often, it was something far simpler, far sneakier, hidden right on their plate each morning. That's why today I'm pulling back the curtain. I'll reveal this fruit, explain why it inflames your prostate, and show you the simple switches that restore your sleep, your energy, and yes, your manhood. And if you stay with me, I'll give you the exact routine my healthiest patients use to keep their prostate calm and their nights uninterrupted well into their 70s and 80s. But before we dive in, let me ask you for one thing. If you value truths like this, the kind most men never hear, hit that like button right now. Not just for me, but for yourself. Because each like tells the world that men's health matters. And who knows, maybe the simple act of pressing like today is the first step in reclaiming your nights, your confidence, and your freedom. Now let's begin with the first truth every man past 60 must face. Why the prostate becomes such a powerful, a silent thief in your life after this age. Gentlemen, let's get honest about something most men past 60 try to shrug off. How many times did you get up last night to use the bathroom? Once, twice, or was it 3, maybe even 4 times? When I ask this question in my office, the answers usually come with a half smile, a shrug, as if it's just part of getting older. But I'm here to tell you, after more than 3 decades as a physician, this is not just age. This is your prostate, a walnut-sized gland that quietly begins to take control of your nights, your energy, your very freedom. The prostate is small, hidden, almost invisible in daily life, but past 60 it can become a silent thief. It doesn't announce itself with alarms or pain. It sneaks in slowly, stealing your rest one trip to the bathroom at a time, first once a night, then twice. And before you know it, your sleep is fractured, your mornings are heavy, and you cannot remember the last time you had a full, unbroken night of rest. I remember a man named Richard, 67, a retired coach. He told me, "Doc, I used to be the man who never missed a beat on the field. Now I can't sit through my grandson's game without excusing myself twice." His voice broke not because of the physical discomfort, but because of the humiliation. And that's the truth most men won't say out loud. It's not only about urination. It's about dignity, identity, the slow erosion of the life you once lived without thought. Science calls it BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. But those clinical words don't capture what it feels like. It feels like standing at the toilet straining, waiting, pushing, and still not emptying your bladder. It feels like planning road trips around rest stops. Like choosing the aisle seat at a movie theater not because you want to, but because you know you'll need to slip out again and again. This is why I call the prostate after 60 the silent thief. It steals in the dark, robbing you of sleep, energy, and confidence until one day you look in the mirror and wonder, how did I lose so much control? But here's the part most men never realize. Biology alone is not the whole story. Yes, the prostate tends to enlarge with age, but the real accelerators, they're in your daily choices, your habits, your diet, even something as ordinary as a piece of fruit on your breakfast plate. That's where the trap begins, and that's what we must confront together. Because the enemy is not always where you expect. Sometimes it's not the heavy, greasy foods. Sometimes it's not the obvious culprits. Sometimes, gentlemen, it's the very thing you thought was good for you. And that's why in a moment, I'm going to reveal how one common fruit, the one sitting quietly on countless breakfast tables, may be the hidden driver of your nightly misery. Gentlemen, let me be blunt. Most men who come to my office don't just complain about urine flow. They're talking about something much deeper. They're talking about how it feels to live at the mercy of their prostate. One man, George, 73, looked me in the eye and said, "Doc, I dread evenings now." While his wife relaxed on the couch, he sat tense, already planning how many times he'd have to excuse himself during the movie. He whispered, "I can't even be present with her anymore. My mind is chained to my bladder." Another man, Michael, 69, told me he mapped out every gas station before a road trip. He knew he couldn't last more than an hour without stopping. He laughed as he said it, but it wasn't joy in his voice, it was defeat. This is what I mean when I say the prostate steals more than sleep. It shrinks your world. It forces you to say no to dinners, to long drives, even to moments that once gave you joy. Slowly, without warning, you trade freedom for caution. And caution, if left unchecked, becomes a prison. The toll isn't just logistical, it's emotional. It's dignity. Imagine sitting at a restaurant with friends and excusing yourself 3 times before dessert arrives. Imagine being on a plane, squeezing past strangers again and again because your body won't let you rest. Many men withdraw not because they want to, but because they can't face the humiliation anymore. And then there's intimacy. I once sat with a retired engineer who told me, "Doctor, I feel like less of a man, not because of weakness in his muscles, but because of weakness in his nights." His wife sensed his distance, his exhaustion. A walnut-sized gland had built a wall between two people who still loved each other. And that, my friend, is the wound no medical chart can measure. Men pride themselves on control, independence, and strength. Losing those to a restless prostate feels like losing part of who you are. That's why I call it not just a medical condition, but an identity crisis. Because when a man feels chained to the bathroom, he doesn't just lose sleep. He loses confidence, connection, and sometimes even hope. And yet, here's the truth. Much of this pain is preventable. These chains are not destiny. They are the result of choices. Choices you may not even know you're making. Which brings us to a hard truth I must reveal. Sometimes the very foods you thought were helping you are the ones feeding your suffering. And among them lies one fruit deceptively healthy, marketed as pure and protective. That may be your greatest enemy after 60. The worst fruit for your prostate, the breakfast trap. Now let's talk about the trap. Because when I first tell a man that a piece of fruit might be harming his prostate, he usually stares at me in disbelief. Fruit, the symbol of health, nature's perfect food, how could something so innocent be the enemy? And yet it is. For decades, magazines, commercials, even doctors' offices painted one particular fruit as the champion of breakfast health. Low in calories, cleansing, oil-friendly to your waistline, and even marketed as good for your heart. Many of my patients proudly tell me, "Doc, I start my morning right, half a grapefruit sliced neatly on the plate." They believe it's protecting them. But gentlemen, here is the painful truth. After 60, grapefruit is not your friend. It may be your hidden saboteur. I'll never forget Frank, 71, who came to see me utterly exhausted. He was up 6 times a night. Couldn't travel with his wife, couldn't sit through a church service without leaving. And here's the twist. Frank was disciplined. He walked every morning. He ate salads. He avoided red meat. He thought he was doing everything right. When I asked about his diet, he smiled proudly. "Grapefruit every morning, doctor." And when I told him that very fruit might be driving his misery, his face collapsed in shock. "You mean to tell me I've been hurting myself all these years?" Yes, Frank, that's exactly what I mean. You see, grapefruit does 2 things older men can't afford. First, it interferes with how your liver breaks down medications. And by 60, almost every man is on something: blood pressure pills, cholesterol drugs, maybe diabetes meds. Grapefruit blocks the enzyme that processes these medicines, which means the drugs build up in your system. Too much in your blood, too much strain on your organs, and yes, a direct aggravation of your prostate. But the betrayal doesn't stop there. Grapefruit also plays with your hormones. It lowers testosterone, raises estrogen, and for the aging male body, that imbalance is like throwing gasoline on a slow fire. Your prostate, already primed to swell, grows even more. So here's the cruel irony. The very fruit you thought was slimming your waistline, keeping your heart safe, and cleaning your body may in fact be quietly feeding your restless nights, your urgency, and your fading confidence. I've had men tell me that once they stopped eating grapefruit, the change was remarkable. Within weeks, fewer bathroom trips, deeper sleep. Their wives noticed they were calmer, less irritable, more like themselves again. That's why I call grapefruit the breakfast trap. It doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't taste harmful. It just sits there, pink and glowing, promising health. But inside a man's body after 60, it sets off a cascade of consequences no commercial will ever warn you about. And here's the real twist. It's not just one betrayal. It's two. A double strike against your health that makes grapefruit one of the worst choices you can make for your prostate. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly how this double betrayal works, how grapefruit magnifies your medications, disrupts your hormones, and leaves your prostate caught in the crossfire. Gentlemen, when I tell you grapefruit is a hidden enemy, I don't say it lightly. I call it the double betrayal because it strikes you from two directions at once. On the surface, grapefruit looks harmless, tangy, refreshing, the very image of health. But beneath that bright skin, two forces are at work that quietly tip your body into chaos. The first betrayal comes through your liver. By 60, most men are on at least one medication: blood pressure, cholesterol, maybe diabetes. Your liver has a set of enzymes designed to break those drugs down at just the right pace, not too fast, not too slow. Grapefruit blocks those enzymes. It ties them up like putting traffic cones across the highway. What happens? The medication builds up in your blood, the levels climb higher than they should, and instead of helping you, they begin to stress your system, your kidneys, your liver, your circulation. And for your prostate, already sensitive with age, that extra strain acts like a silent accelerant. The swelling worsens, the urgency grows, your nights fracture further. The second betrayal is hormonal. The prostate lives and dies by hormone balance. Testosterone keeps it steady. Estrogen, when unchecked, pushes it to grow. As men age, testosterone naturally declines while estrogen edges upward. Grapefruit interferes with testosterone metabolism, meaning you hold on to less of the hormone you need while estrogen gains the upper hand. The result, a perfect storm for prostate growth. I've told many patients with every slice of grapefruit you're tipping the scale further against yourself. Take Harold, 68, one of the cleanest living men I've ever met. He never drank alcohol, exercised daily. Every morning, grapefruit for breakfast, no sugar, no excess. He came to me exhausted. His libido had crashed. He was up 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a night. He thought he was doing everything right. When I explained the science, Harold was stunned. "Doctor, you mean one piece of fruit could do all this?" We adjusted his diet. Out went the grapefruit. In came pomegranate and blueberries. Within 3 months, Harold's nights calmed. He slept longer, deeper. His energy returned. Even his intimacy with his wife, something he thought was lost, began to stir back to life. That's the double betrayal at work. Grapefruit magnifies the drugs you take while stealing the hormones you desperately need. Two blows at once, leaving your prostate caught in the crossfire. And the cruelest part, it happens silently. No warning label on the fruit, no sign in the grocery store. You simply assume it's safe until one day you realize it has quietly reshaped your life. This, gentlemen, is why I plead with men over 60 to understand. Not all health foods are your allies. Some, like grapefruit, become enemies once your body crosses into this new season of life. And if you've been wondering what the true cost of ignoring this betrayal feels like, not in charts and numbers, but in your daily reality, we need to look at something most men rarely admit. The psychological burden, the loss of freedom, the way a man can become a prisoner in his own body. That's where we go next. What to do instead? The simple prostate-saving switch. Gentlemen, after hearing all this, the question that burns in every man's mind is simple. If I stop eating grapefruit, what should I do instead? And here's the good news, the answer is far simpler than you might think. It doesn't require expensive pills. It doesn't require complicated regimens. It only requires a switch so practical and so powerful that I call it the 3 fruits, 3 veggies. One habit plan. Let's start with the fruits. Blueberries, nature's antioxidant powerhouse. They calm inflammation, protect delicate tissues, and shield the prostate from oxidative stress. Patients who add blueberries often tell me they feel lighter and more in control within weeks. Apples, simple, humble, but quietly effective. Their fiber regulates blood sugar and digestion, which keeps hormone balance steady, a crucial factor for prostate health. Pomegranate. This fruit has been studied for its remarkable ability to improve blood flow and reduce oxidative stress. I've seen men who simply swapped grapefruit for pomegranate juice notice stronger circulation and calmer nights. Now the vegetables. Broccoli, rich in sulforaphane, a compound that helps detoxify the body and regulate hormones. Men who start eating broccoli regularly often report improved urinary flow. Cauliflower, gentle but potent. With the same family of protective compounds that help keep the prostate from abnormal growth. Brussels sprouts, a little bitter, yes, but worth their weight in gold. They support hormone balance and fight the very pathways that fuel prostate swelling. And finally, the habit. A daily 30-minute walk, not a marathon, not heavy lifting, just movement. Brisk enough to raise your heart rate, gentle enough for any man to do daily. Walking reduces inflammation, improves circulation, regulates hormones, and even lifts mood. I tell my patients walking is medicine. I think of Robert, 66, who once looked at me skeptical. Doc, you're telling me just swapping fruit and walking is going to help? 2 months later, after trading grapefruit for blueberries and pomegranate, adding broccoli to dinner, and walking each evening with his wife, he came back smiling. Doctor, last night I only got up once. I feel like a new man. That's why I call this plan simple but life-changing. It doesn't strip joy from food, it replaces what harms you with what heals you. It doesn't demand perfection, only consistency. And the payoff, restful nights, steadier energy, even intimacy that feels alive again. Gentlemen, you are not powerless. Your prostate does not control you. Your choices do. And when you make the right switches, 3 fruits, 3 veggies, 1 habit, your body begins to thank you in ways you can feel. And now the question that weighs on many men's hearts, is it really too late? If I've been suffering for years, can I still change? Let me show you why the answer is a resounding no, it's never too late. Hope for men over 60, it's not too late. Gentlemen, one of the hardest things I see in my practice is not the fatigue in a man's body, but the defeat in his eyes. He leans forward, voice low, and says, "Doctor, I guess this is just how it is now." That quiet surrender breaks my heart because it's a lie. I've spent over 30 years treating men in their 60s, 70s, even their 80s, and I can tell you with certainty, it is never too late. The body has an astonishing ability to rebound when you give it the right support. Take Thomas, 72. For more than a decade, he lived with urgency, broken sleep, and the humiliation of being chained to the bathroom. He stopped traveling with his wife. He avoided church events. He even turned down time with his grandchildren because he couldn't bear the embarrassment. He thought his life was over. But Thomas made a decision. He gave up grapefruit. He brought pomegranate and blueberries into his meals. He added broccoli to his dinner and walked each morning. 3 months later, he returned for a follow-up. His face was brighter, his shoulders straighter, and he said, "Doctor, I just went on my first road trip in years. I didn't have to stop every hour. I feel like I got my life back." I see transformations like this again and again. Men who thought their best years were behind them suddenly rediscovering energy, confidence, and intimacy. It's not just physical healing, it's dignity restored. It's looking in the mirror and seeing a man again, not a prisoner. Science backs this up. Studies show that small lifestyle changes, diet, movement, hormone balance can significantly improve prostate health, circulation, and vitality even in older men. The body never stops responding to care. The only thing that stops is our belief that change is possible. And that's why I'm here to tell you, your story does not have to be one of decline. Your prostate is not your destiny. You are not too old. You are not too late. Every day you choose differently is a step toward reclaiming your nights, your energy, your manhood. Gentlemen, I want you to hold on to this truth. You are not broken. You are not finished. You are simply waiting to awaken what's still inside you. And yet, before we close, there's one more thing I must share. It's a message I've given to thousands of men, but today I want to give it directly to you. It's not medical advice written in charts, it's a plea. It's my plea as a doctor who has seen too many men wait too long. My final advice. Gentlemen, if I could sit across from you right now, look you in the eye, and give you just one piece of advice that could change your life after 60, it would be this: stop eating grapefruit today. I don't say that lightly. I say it because I've seen what happens when men ignore this truth. Sleepless nights, strained marriages, years of fatigue and quiet despair. All from something as small as a piece of fruit that no one ever warned them about. I remember Daniel, 69, who came to me defeated. He had done everything right: medication, diet, discipline, yet he was still up 5 times a night, still exhausted, still distant from his wife. When I explained the role grapefruit was playing, he shook his head in disbelief. He stopped that very day. 3 months later, tears welled in his eyes as he told me, "Doctor, I wish I had known sooner. I could have spared myself years of misery." That, gentlemen, is why I am pleading with you. Do not wait until regret teaches you what I am telling you now. Don't let another year be stolen from you by something so deceptively ordinary. Because here is the truth: when men finally let go of grapefruit and replace it with foods that heal, when they walk daily, when they nourish instead of sabotage, their lives change. Their sleep returns, their energy rises, their intimacy stirs back to life, their wives notice, their children notice. They notice, and suddenly they realize they were never doomed to decline. They were simply fighting the wrong battle. I've looked into the eyes of too many men who said, "If only I had acted sooner." I don't want that to be you, not now, not ever. Gentlemen, this is my doctor's plea, not a prescription, not a sales pitch. A plea from someone who has listened to the pain of men just like you for decades. From someone who knows you deserve better than restless nights and broken confidence. You are not broken, you are not finished, you are not beyond hope. You have the power to choose differently today, and that brings me to one last message. A vision, really. A reminder of what's still possible when you take this knowledge and turn it into action. Because understanding the problem is only half the battle. What matters most is the life you choose to reclaim. That's where we'll go. Is in our conclusions. Gentlemen, as we close this conversation, I want to remind you of something simple yet profound. Your prostate does not define you. Your choices do. We began by exposing a truth most men never hear, that the prostate, though small, can quietly rob you of your sleep, your confidence, even your dignity. We unmasked grapefruit, the so-called healthy fruit that in reality fuels the very swelling that keeps you chained to the bathroom. We explored the double betrayal, how it magnifies your medications and steals your hormones. And we faced the emotional cost, how a man's world can shrink not because of who he is, but because of what he unknowingly puts on his plate. But we also opened the door to freedom. 3 fruits, 3 vegetables, 1 daily habit. That simple switch has given men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s back their nights, their energy, and their intimacy. I've seen it in Frank, in Harold, in Thomas, and it can happen for you. Gentlemen, hear me clearly. It is never too late. You are not powerless. You are not broken. Every day you choose differently, you declare that you refuse to surrender, to decline. Now here's my invitation. If today's message struck a chord, show the world that men's health matters. Tap that like button. Leave a comment, even if it's just A1 to say, I'm with you. If you disagree, type 0 and tell me what you'd like me to cover better next time. And above all, subscribe and share this with a friend, a brother, a father who needs this truth, because you never know, one video could change a man's life. I'll leave you with this blessing. May your nights be peaceful, your mornings strong, and your years ahead filled with health, confidence, and joy. You deserve nothing less. This is Dr. Jonathan Prescott, thanking you for joining me here at the Prescott Lab Podcast. Until next time, take back your life.